Hi Year 2, welcome back to your next writing lesson. Today we are going to be continuing with Cinderella and we're going to be writing sentences today using subordinating conjunctions. But before we do anything, we are going to practice our story. So I'd like you to stand up and get ready to do all of the actions. I want you to be saying them nice and clearly and try your very best. Are you ready? Let's go.
Once upon a time, there was a beautiful girl called Cinderella who lived with her wicked stepmother and stepsisters. Her parents had died and her stepmother treated her terribly. Every day, she was forced to scrub the floors, wash the dishes, and brush her sister's hair. One day, they were invited to a grand ball at the king's palace, but Cinderella's horrible stepmother did not let her go. She was forced to stay home and clean the old fireplace because it was filthy. Suddenly, a fairy godmother appeared. She promised to send her to the ball. The fairy godmother waved her magic wand and changed Cinderella's ragged clothes into a shimmering golden gown with delicate glass slippers. Excitedly, Cinderella entered the palace and everyone was astonished because she was so beautiful. Nobody recognized her, not even her sisters. The handsome prince fell in love with Cinderella when they danced together. As soon as the clock struck 12, Cinderella darted out of the palace as fast as she could. On the way, she lost one of her precious glass slippers and left it behind. The handsome prince wanted to find out who the beautiful girl was, but he didn't even know her name. After thinking carefully, he decided that he would ask every young lady to try on the slipper until he found someone who it fit. Everyone wanted to try on a slipper, but it did not fit any of them. Early the next day, the prince arrived at Cinderella's house. Her ugly stepsisters desperately tried to squeeze their feet into the slipper, but it did not fit. Cinderella's stepmother tried to hide Cinderella away, but the prince saw her and insisted that she try the slipper on. It fit perfectly! The prince was delighted. Then they got married the very next day and lived happily ever after.
Brilliant. Okay, so we have practiced that. Well done for joining in and doing it as best as you can. Today, we're going to be thinking about Cinderella and writing sentences using a subordinating conjunction. Now, Year 2, this is quite a complicated word to say, but we're going to try and say it. So I want you to follow me and we'll do my turn, your turn to say the word. Are you ready? Sub, ord, inating. Now we're going to put the word together. Subordinating. Con, junk, chun. Conjunction. Now let's try and put those two words together. Subordinating conjunction. Really well done for trying. That's fantastic. And if you want to replay that to say it again, please do. Okay, now our star words we're going to use today. Clause. Now this word clause is a new word for most of us. It means parts of a sentence. Okay, clause. Sentence. Why? When? And that two words again, subordinating conjunction. Brilliant. Okay, now sentences are made up of clauses. Now in year 2 we've talked lots about how a sentence is an idea, haven't we? And really a clause is a fancy word for an idea. So an idea is a clause. An idea is a... Good. So in some sentences, we just have one idea, don't we? That's what we've been practicing a lot. And so that would mean the sentence has one clause. There's just one part to the sentence. But sometimes we might want to make the sentence bigger and put two ideas in, okay, because it makes the sentence better. And if there's two ideas, that means there's two parts or two clauses in a sentence. So let's have a look at some sentences. This sentence says, Sally broke her phone. Now, in this sentence, there's only one idea. Sally's broken her phone. Because there's one idea, that means there is one clause. Let's look at another one. Jay went to the shop and he ate some pizza. Now in this sentence, two things are happening, two ideas. Jay goes to the shop and then Jay eats some pizza. Now because there's two ideas, have a think, how many clauses are there in the sentence? There are two clauses, okay? There are two parts to the sentence. The first clause is Jay went to the shop. The second clause is he ate some pizza. Let's look at one more sentence. Sam was cold because it was snowing. Have a think. How many ideas or parts are there in this sentence? Okay, there are two parts to this sentence. Sam was cold, and then because it was snowing. Okay, so there are two parts or two ideas, which means how many clauses are there? Two. Sam was cold is our first clause. Because it was snowing is our second clause. Okay. Now what we're going to be focusing on today are those two big words, subordinating conjunctions. A subordinating conjunction is really just a word that joins two clauses together. So we've got and is the word that joins the first clause, Jay went to the shop and he ate some pizza. And is the word that joins them together in the sentence. The second sentence says Sam was cold because it was snowing. Because is our subordinating conjunction here. It's the word that joins the two parts of a sentence together. Now, these are all the words that we're going to be looking at today. So these are all subordinating conjunctions. They all are words that will join two parts of a sentence together, or two clauses of a sentence together. Now, year 2, do not worry if this sounds quite complicated. This is one of our first times looking at this, and we're going to look at it lots more in the future. So just follow along with me, okay? So the second part of a sentence So for example, Sam was cold because it was snowing. The second clause there is always explaining if it's got a subordinating conjunction, when or why. So this clause, because it was snowing, explains why Sam was cold, okay? This clause explains why Sam was cold. Now we're going to look at some examples together, and I've got some steps to success to help me. The first step says, read the sentence. Cinderella found the castle, after a very long journey. Cinderella found the castle, a very long journey. My second step says, choose a subordinating conjunction. Now I've got a bank of subordinating conjunctions here, and I can try and see which one fits the best. Now there might be more than one that fits, okay? Now remember, subordinating conjunctions are the words that join the two clauses together. So we've got our first clause, Cinderella found the castle, and the second clause, a very long journey. Okay, so let's try and fit some of them in. Cinderella found the castle because a very long journey. Cinderella found the castle when a very long journey. Cinderella found the castle after a very long journey. Now this makes sense because it's explaining, it's a good word to join a clause, the clauses together. Cinderella found the castle after a very long journey. Now remember, if we're using a subordinating conjunction, it's either going to be telling us when or why. So Cinderella found the castle after a very long journey. Is that telling us when she found the castle or why she found the castle? It was after a very long journey, so that's telling us when she found the castle. Let's look at another example. First step, read the sentence. Cinderella had to clean the floor, they would sparkle. Now I've got two clauses. The first clause says Cinderella had to clean the floor. The second clause or part of the sentence says they would sparkle. Now which word, I've got my second step is to choose a subordinating conjunction. Which word will fit? Cinderella had to clean the floor because they would sparkle. Kind of makes sense. Because Cinderella had to clean the floor when they would sparkle. Cinderella had to clean the floor after they would sparkle. Cinderella had to clean the floor so that they would sparkle. That conjunction fits the best because it's explaining why she had to clean the floor. So when I check the sentence, Cinderella had to clean the floor so that they would sparkle, I know it makes sense because it reads well and it says why. So when I'm thinking about when or why, the reason that they would sparkle, she had to clean the floor, is so that they would sparkle. Let's look at the next one. First step, read the sentence. And this time I want more of your help. Cinderella had to leave the castle. It was 12 o'clock. Second step is to choose a subordinating conjunction. Cinderella had to leave the castle. And this time I'm going to be dragging the words in there and I want you to have a think which word fits best and then we'll talk about it. Cinderella had to leave the castle when it was 12 o'clock. Cinderella had to leave the castle after it was 12 o'clock. Cinderella had to leave the castle so that it was 12 o'clock. Cinderella had to leave the castle as soon as it was 12 o'clock. Now, have a think, which of those words fit the best? Now you might be thinking a number of them worked well, and that's because a number of them do work in the sentence. They join the two clauses well, but I'm going to choose as soon as, because Cinderella had to leave the castle as soon as it was 12 o'clock. First of all, is it telling me when or why? It's telling me when, isn't it? This clause is telling me when she had to leave the castle. And I like as soon as here because it really shows how rushed she was. It was as soon as it was 12 o'clock. So step number 3, let me check the sentence. And if you want, you can read it aloud with me. Cinderella had to leave the castle as soon as it was 12 o'clock. Let's look at another one. Okay, so here we have Prince Charming riding a horse. Now, let's read the sentence. The prince could not rest. He had met Cinderella. Now, again, I'm going to put the words down into the gap, and as you see each one go down into the sentence, I want you to think which word fits well, and maybe more than one word will fit well. Off we go. Okay, so thinking about that, we could have the prince could not rest as soon as he had met Cinderella. We could also have any of these ones after he had met Cinderella, when he had met Cinderella, or even because he had met Cinderella. So well done if you thought any of those words. Now we could have because he had met Cinderella, because it's explaining because he had met Cinderella explains why he could not rest. We could have when or after or as soon as, because that when he had met Cinderella explains when he could not rest. Remember, the subordinating conjunction will be explaining either when or why about the first clause, whatever it's talking about. Last one together, okay? So step 1 is to read the sentence. The prince was thrilled. He found Cinderella. And here we have a prince and Cinderella. So the prince was thrilled. He found Cinderella. Again, I'm going to drop the words down. If I'm going too quickly, please pause me and you can read the sentence properly. Okay, so on our second step here of choosing a subordinating conjunction, you could have chosen a number of them again. We could say the prince was thrilled because he found Cinderella. We could say he was thrilled when he found Cinderella. That would be telling us the time of when he was thrilled. We could say after. Again, that's telling us the time that he was thrilled, because after he found Cinderella. Or we could say as soon as, because again, that's telling us when he was thrilled. It was when he found Cinderella. Okay, now we're going to move on to our independent task. And I want you to use this screen so you can pause it and go back to it when you're doing your worksheet, so you can have the steps to success here and a word bank of the subordinating conjunctions. But I'm actually going to take you now to, let's see if I can turn the camera around. Aha. Okay, so here's our worksheet. Now, the first question says, circle where the subordinating conjunction is in the sentences. Now, we've got a word bank of all the different subordinating conjunctions we're using today. And this question is asking you to read the sentence carefully, and when you find the word that's a subordinating conjunction, I want you to circle it on the sentence. Now I want you to do that for both sentences, and when you've finished, I want you to play. Play me, we'll go on to the next question. But right now, I would like you to pause me, and then we'll carry on when you press play. Okay, so for that question, we had two subordinating conjunctions in these sentences. First of all, the floor was clean when Cinderella had finished cleaning. Now this conjunction explains the time when the floor was clean. The beautiful girl danced as soon as she arrived at the ball. Again, as soon as, this conjunction explains when the girl danced. It was as soon as she arrived at the ball. Let's move on to our second exercise. It says, use the word bank, which remember is at the top of the page here. Use the word bank to complete the sentences. So this is when you're going to need the steps to success that are, if you go back to when we were looking at the slides, remember you need to read the sentence first. Then you need to have a look at the word bank and see which word you think fits. And then check the sentence by reading it again. So have a go at doing that here. Remember, you might have more than one word. You can have a choice of which word you use sometimes. And when you finish that, press play, okay? But right now I want you to pause me and have a go at doing this exercise. Okay. Cinderella was treated badly. Her stepmother was wicked. Now looking at our bank, we could use a number of words. You might have chosen because. Cinderella was treated badly because her stepmother was wicked. Okay, that would be explaining why she was treated badly. You might have said Cinderella was treated badly when her stepmother was wicked, or after her stepmother was wicked. Okay, that would be explaining when she was treated badly. Okay, so you could have chosen any of those words. For number 2, you might have said the fairy godmother waved her wand when she visited Cinderella, or because she visited Cinderella. Okay, so it would either be explaining when she waved her wand or why she waved her wand. Question number 3. Cinderella lost her slipper. Again, she darted out of the castle. You could say because she darted out of the castle, when she darted out of the castle, after she darted out of the castle, or even as soon as she darted out of the castle. So you could have put any of those choices in this gap here, because they would either be explaining when she lost her slipper or why she lost her slipper? Question number 4. The handsome prince wanted to see who the slipper fit. Now, this one we should really have so that he could find Cinderella. Now, that's the conjunction which fits the best here, and it's explaining why he wanted to see who the slipper fits. It's why is because then he could find Cinderella. And number 5, the stepsisters were angry. You could say because the prince found Cinderella, when the prince found Cinderella, after the prince found Cinderella, or even as soon as the prince found Cinderella. Any of those subordinating conjunctions will join these two clauses together. They either explain, remember those two things that it will explain? When or why. Okay, now let's look at our challenge sheet. Now you do not have to do the challenge sheet. If that's taken you a long time, which is absolutely fine, to work through these subordinating conjunctions, then you are okay to finish there. But if you would like a challenge, and I would encourage you to do so, I would like you to turn the page over or scroll down and find the challenge sheet. Now, the first exercise of our challenge says, are the subordinate clauses, remember, now subordinate clauses are the second part of the sentence. So let me underline those here. Okay, these are the subordinate clauses. Are they explaining when or why? Now, we've done this a lot when we've been reading our sentences. So, Cinderella was excited because she could go to the ball. Now, is that word because explaining when she was excited or why she was excited? Okay, so I would like you to circle which one you think. And then I want you to read the second question, the second sentence, and again think, is it saying as soon as the prince found Cinderella? Is that saying when the wicked stepmother was horrified or why she was horrified? Pause me now and then play me when you've finished. Okay, so you should have found that for the first sentence, Cinderella was excited because she could go to the ball, explained why she was excited. Okay, it's saying because she could go to the ball. And the second sentence, the wicked stepmother was horrified as soon as the prince found Cinderella, explains when she was horrified, okay, because it was as soon as she found Cinderella. Really well done for all your hard effort in this writing lesson. The last thing that you can do with writing today is write at least one sentence with a subordinating conjunction about the picture below. Use the word bank to help. So you can turn your page over or scroll up and find that word bank. Now I'm going to do an example of one sentence, and then I would love it if you could do your own, and make sure you upload them to Seesaw so that we can all see. Now, I'm going to choose the subordinating conjunction after. Okay, so I'm going to write a sentence about this picture, and I'm going to have two parts to my sentence, and the word that's going to join them is after. Now, what can I write about? Looking at this picture, I can see Cinderella dancing with the handsome prince at the ball. I'm going to say Cinderella danced after she entered the ball. So Cinderella danced after she entered the ball. Here I go. Cinderella, I need a capital C. Cinderella, remember I always start on the line, danced. Now my subordinating conjunction, what was it again? After. After She entered the ball. And I always need to finish my sentence with a full stop. Now you might want to write an even bigger sentence. So you might want to say Cinderella danced beautifully and use an adverb there. Or you might want to say after she entered the magical ball. Yeah, and you can add some adjectives to describe the ball. You can write a sentence about anything to do with this picture, and you can write more than one sentence. There's lots of space here for you to carry on if you like. Okay, that concludes our writing lesson today. Well done if you've got to the end of the challenge as well. That's a fantastic effort and a real achievement. So well done and have a lovely day.